Hi, this is Patricia with Buzz and Bark Animals, and I lost my original channel, Buzz and Bark Animals. I was deleting my astrology channel, and the Buzz and Bark accidentally got deleted, so I'm starting from scratch. I almost just decided not to even do the channel at all. But then I remembered the mission behind this is to help humans bond more deeply with animals at a time where it's needed most. So hopefully you will share this with your friends, help me to rebuild this channel, which is rising out of the ashes like a phoenix right now. I did write letters to Google to have them restore my old YouTube channel. It's really a rare, like almost an impossible thing to have happen. I mean, it would be a miracle if it did. So, anyways, remember to like, share, and comment. I'm not going to do Reiki today. I'm going to do some sound healing, but I wanted to talk about. Um, I just watched a Nova PBS video called Can Dogs Talk? And nowhere in it did they have animal communication because science doesn't recognize animal communication. So there was no telepathy, no animal communication. It was all about those talking um, buttons, the talk buttons, and whether or not the dogs were trained or was it just random or were dogs really able to understand our language and to communicate with us. And because they didn't talk about telepathy or animal communication, they were really missing the fact that dogs are communicating with us. All animals are communicating with us and have been for a long time. Now, as we evolve as humans, especially right now, we're evolving very quickly. There's a shift going on the planet. We're all becoming telepathic. And so you're going to be seeing more people awakening to the fact that they're able to communicate with animals and trees and the earth. And it's going to get really wild and really wonky. So we're going to understand that yes, we are communicating with all species. We are part of a oneness and a unity. You don't hear about that in science unless maybe it's quantum physics. And so there's going to be a lot of this hardcore science, and I have nothing against science. There's a lot of really fascinating science, especially when it comes to astronomy, and there's some pretty cool stuff happening. But the way we've looked at animals as humans, the way we have demeaned them, and I think the reason why is if we demean them, then we can enslave them and we can use them in ways that don't benefit them and only benefit us. So if we were to know really how intelligent these animals are and how much they're actually doing for us and how much they're doing to the planet, we would not be able to treat them the way that we're treating them now. But there are industries and corporations and even government that benefits from the mistreatment of animals. So this is something I'm not going to get into, but you can go look it up yourself and decide what you feel about that. But for now, what I want to do is I want to bring in again, this is my second take of this video. I'm going to bring in Archangel Michael, Uriel, Gabriel, Raphael to hold the space and bring in some healing and protection. I'm calling on Archangel Sandalphon to help us ground with Grandmother Oak into the earth so that we're stable and we can ride these waves that we're experiencing, both us and the animals. And then I'm bringing in Metatron to keep us connected to the God source and the cosmos so that we're all aligned in these 6 directions. So let's take some deep breaths. Whatever you want to do. You can count however you want to count. We'll do 3 deep breaths. And you may not be hearing this bowl, but you're still experiencing the 100 to 1,000 spectrum hertz. Okay, I may or may not do light language. We'll see. I do have the crystal here, which is, I call it my community quartz, because you can see there's a lot of inclusions on this. And this community is for all animals and all humans who would like to participate. And I'm setting the intention for peace, so that we can feel more peace and more mindfulness as we're navigating through these shifting and changing times on the earth. And I'm calling in all animals, not just people's pets, but also the wild animals, all the kingdoms, the minerals, the plant kingdoms, all the kingdoms. I'm calling them in. Because we're all part of the same oneness. And I also want to thank my crystals a lot, because they have sacrificed, they used to be part of the earth and then they get removed from the earth. So they have sacrificed so much of themselves so that we can work with them. And if you are somebody who has a lot of crystals and you are attracted to crystals, so you collect them, please show them as much respect as possible. They want to work with us. So if you're drawn to crystals and also animals, and you want to do some kind of crystals therapy with animals, and you don't really know how to do it yet, go and learn how to do it, because now is the time. And again, they want to work with us. And not everybody's drawn to crystals and stones. So if you are, there's a reason for it. Just like not everybody's drawn to telepathy or animals. Okay, so now I've got some beautiful Amazonite, which is for the throat chakra. Kind of using it on myself. I'm having some throat chakra issues today. So we're doing a little bit of crystal and angelic therapy right now. So I think what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be channeling some messages as they're coming through from the angelic and the crystal realms. This is not what I intended. Okay, and the last one is the malachite chrysocolla. Chrysocolla, however you say it. This one's for the heart, and I really feel Archangel Raphael's energy really entwined in this. And I also feel like Gabriel is in there as well. Okay, so I know I've been talking a lot about the dog Aloka, who's really famous right now, and I'd be surprised if you didn't know who he was. He is an ambassador for all animals, to remember to show them loving kindness, and also to value the loving kindness that they show us. So even wild animals have been helping us. So there are people, such as myself, who like to work with totems and power animals and animal symbols and omens and that sort of thing. And one of the ways that the wild animals, or the animals that you're not associated with in your household, will communicate with us is through signs and synchronicity. And there is a really good book by Ted Andrews. Actually, there's two books. There's Animal Wise and Animal Speak. Now, he died, I don't know, about 2 decades ago. I can't remember. I think he died maybe in I think it was the 1990s. Or it might have been the early 2000s. Anyways, he was this fantastic metaphysical practitioner. He also did things with sound. He was like an all-around practitioner, and he was an animal rescue. Like, he worked in a rehab place for wild animals. So he had a lot of knowledge about animals. And he said the way to read these signs, and also indigenous people do this as well, is to look at the direction in which they come, and then, find out what each direction means: west, east, north, and south. What element they're associated with. Is it air, fire, water, earth? You know, are they water creatures? Are they earth creatures? Are they air creatures? Are they creatures that are more of the, you know, like sun absorbers? And how many are there? What color are they? Are they feathered? Are they reptiles? Are they on four legs? What is the association with other cultures? So for this year, it's going to be the year of the fire horse. And the horse has different meanings and symbolism depending on the culture. So in Mongolia or China or the American West or Native American, you name it, all these cultures will have traditional meanings for what a horse is and what a horse does. And then we can look at the more mundane things about the horse, like, well, horses were used for racing, they were used for sports, they were used for work, they were used for farm labor, they were used for transportation, they might have been used in battles. So what are all the associations that you have with a horse? So you may be in a car and you drive past a pasture. What am I talking about? And you see 6 horses and they're west of you. Okay, so then you put that together, and then you can also go, what's the color of the horse? And say the horses are different colors. Say there's spotted ones and brown ones and gray ones. And so you want to look at the colors and the symbolism of those colors and what those colors mean to you. So basically you get out a journal and you just write everything down that you associate with. You know, just do a free association and just write about those horses that you just saw while you were driving. You know, you don't want to do it while you're driving, obviously, but, you know, later, just make note of it. I'm going to write about that later and see what that means. And what you're going to get are some sentences. What you're going to get are some communication, some messages are going to come through, and they're going to pertain directly to you. So it's a form of divination, and you know, it has been used since ancient times. Different cultures have, you know, they could call it totem animals, spirit animals, power animals. You know, there's so many different names that they will call, or just, you know, or just working with the symbolism, or they may consider it like association, like I'm associated with that particular animal. So there may be somebody who's got owl medicine. In the indigenous cultures, they'll just call it medicine, right? So you have owl medicine. Well, that means that you're connected to the owl spirit, and that's the animal or the creature that's going to bring you messages. That's the animal that you have the most traits with. So your personality traits could be associated with whatever animal is your totem or your medicine. So it could be a bear, it could be a dog, it could be any of the creatures, and there is no lesser or greater. So somebody could have a tiger, doesn't make them greater than somebody who's got the mouse, right? It's just that we all have these different abilities, and through those abilities, we are able to receive messages. So this is good for people who don't follow any religion, or people who do can do this as well. But people who don't follow any religion, but they want to have some kind of spirituality, they want to receive some messages. One of the ways that can be is through a lot of the shamanic traditions and the working with these animals and understanding what they mean and what they're trying to teach you. Now, the other thing wild animals can do is you could be sick and you're looking for a cure, you're looking for something to heal you. And you go into the woods and a bird lands near a bush, and that bush just happens to be, say, Oregon grape. And I'm just using this as an example. And then Oregon grape, you look it up and you find out that's exactly the remedy that you need for whatever illness that you have at that time. Now, I know Oregon grape is really good for, say, colds, right? Or, you know, that kind of thing. And maybe that's what you use it for. Or maybe it's a fern or some kind of berries or, you know, different things, mushrooms, and the animals will point you in that direction, or they'll point you to a tree, right? And then you maybe use the essence of a cedar or the essence of a pine, and then you find out that these things are very healing for you. So this is the way that nature communicates with us, and this is the way that animals communicate with us, besides, you know, the telepathy. And then now we've got the talking buttons, which is very controversial, but you know, that works on the mundane level for some people, and it is really interesting. So, what other message is coming through before I do some sound? Okay, so for those of you who do want to use crystals, with animals. There are some cautions that you need to take. You don't really want to put these in a place where they can eat them. And you think, well, my dog or my cat doesn't do that. But, you know, like Himalayan salt or anything that's salty, your cat will lick. And then they'll get too much salt in their body and they'll get dehydrated, which can cause some health problems. For dogs, there is the possibility that they ingest this and then you have to go get this removed from their stomach if they survive, right? The other thing to consider is that, you know, this is Ann's right? But it has a lot of copper in it. It has a pretty high level of copper depending on the stone. And you don't want too much copper because it can get toxic, right? Some stones, not so much the crystals, but the stones can have mercury, lead, radiation. And there's a lot of different things that are in the stones that are very toxic. And then there's some things like, I think it's cinnabar, that you just don't even want to have around because it is so toxic. And, you know, some Reiki practitioners still want to use it and they use it very cautiously. So when you work with the stones, make sure that you're only bringing them out when you're doing a healing session on the animals. Store them in a place they can't get to. You know, if you're going to put them on a windowsill, you know, to be in the sun or things like that. I don't think the cats are going to do anything unless, again, it's like a Himalayan salt or something, you know, that is of a salt, structure. So you don't want to put those around because then they'll come and lick it. But I think cats will pretty much leave them alone if you put them on, you know, a high enough place. Dogs, unfortunately, especially puppies, I've heard of dogs eating rocks and breaking their teeth. So you just never know with them. So just keep them in a safe place. If you have children as well, you know, keep the stones away from them. Don't let them play with them or put them in their mouth or anything like that. It's just not a good idea because you don't know what's in that stone. And you don't really want to be getting heavy metal poisoning and things like that, especially for children and animals or anyone, you know, and definitely don't put something like this in a glass of water and let it soak in water and then drink the water. That's something that has been practiced by some people in the metaphysical communities, and I don't recommend it because if you get heavy metals in your body, a lot of times you're not going to even know they're there until it's too late. So, especially if people are doing this every week or every day. And I remember there were actually some videos on YouTube where they were showing people how to do this. And I'm like, no, that's a no-no. You know, you can take a clear glass of water and put the stone on the outside of the glass and let the essence of the stone, you know, the aura of the stone go into the water, you know, and the water will pick it up because the water has consciousness. So you can do it that way. But just don't put stones in water, and definitely don't put it in the water bowls of pets and that sort of thing. And then the last thing that we're going to say is it's really good going forward to filter the water that you're giving to your cat and dog, and also be very careful about the quality of animal food out there because it's very toxic right now. There are some good brands, but you're going to have to do some research. You're going to have to do some legwork. I don't do that research, but there are some YouTubers out there, and there's different websites and things that you can go to and find out what's in the food, like, and also what recalls have been and all the rest of that. I think that you're really much safer if you just cook vegetables, and I don't know about cats, but for dogs you can cook a lot of vegetables and just maybe put some you know, like free range meat or something like that in there if you go that route. I wouldn't do raw. That's a really big thing right now. There are some holistic vets that really promote that. But the problem with raw is you don't know what bacteria is in it, and then that bacteria is in your home. It can make you sick as well. So, you know, you just have to, I guess, follow your intuition and go with what you're comfortable with, but also know, like, what's going on with the food and the water and everything else going forward. Because animals are hypersensitive, and if you're hypersensitive yourself or you're empathic, you'll understand what that is. Okay, so I'm going to do some koshi chimes. Take some deep breaths. you. This makes me feel really good. Do some flute. Oh. Let's do some more singing bowl. I'm going to bring in some angelic light language. Gonna end with some flute. So if you're finding this channel by accident, please like, subscribe, and share with animal lovers. I know everybody's got friends out there that love animals, so just share this wide. Help me to rebuild this phoenix that is burning in the ashes, or burnt in the ashes, and needs to rise again. So have a wonderful week with you and your pets bonding. Bye for now.